So question number 49 is in the book of John, chapter 20 and verse 14. And so why didn't Mary Magdalene recognize Jesus when she first looked at him? So in John chapter 20, we have the resurrection of Jesus. And it is interesting that Jesus first appeared to Mary Magdalene. And what we see is that Mary, other women, were approaching the tomb of Jesus. Mary gets there before the women, doesn't see Jesus, runs off to tell Peter and John. Peter and John come running back. John beats Peter, but John doesn't go into the tomb. Peter comes up, Peter goes into the tomb. He doesn't see anything. They leave, and they're walking away. And then here comes Mary Magdalene back up, and Mary Magdalene is upset. She is peering into the tomb, and when she peers into the tomb, what she sees is two angels, one at the head of where Jesus used to be, one at the foot at where Jesus used to be. And they say to her in verse number 15, "Woman, who are you? Why are you crying?" So here she is. She's weeping. She's upset by a whole bunch of different things. And, she's just crying about things. And that's a good question. Why is it that you are crying? Jesus isn't here. Jesus is risen. But he says, who is it that you are looking for? And so, going back to verse number 13, it says, they asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "They have taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they have put him." At this, she turned and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. "Woman," he said, "why are you crying? Who is it that you're looking for?" Thinking he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you've carried him away, tell me where you have put him. I will get him." Okay? So we look at that and we first think, why would a gardener carry off a body? And why would she think that, the gardener would know where he is? Well, one thing that we kind of need to understand is that people that were executed by crucifixion, that their bodies were the property of the Roman government. And that normally what happened is that the Roman government would leave the bodies of criminals up on crosses until they rotted and fell off. And when that happened, they just picked them up and they just went and tossed them in the trash. And, in this case, because Passover was coming, Pilate wanted the bodies down because the Jews, that would have been a defilement, but still, those bodies were still the property of the Roman government, and they probably would have wound up in the trash unless Joseph of Arimathea went and boldly asked Pilate for the body of Jesus and then put Jesus' body in his tomb. And so it could be that, it could be that, Mary is thinking, oh, well, they've come and they've taken the body and, they put him in, and she's just saying, if you know where the body is, if you've taken the body, then tell me and I'll come and I'll put it back. Now, the question is, why didn't Mary Magdalene recognize that this was Jesus that she was talking to and mistaking him for the gardener? And it could be that, maybe she was just in grief and she was crying. And, when you're crying a bunch and you've got, your eyes filled with tears, you're just not focusing on things. It also could be that, sometimes when you get something in your mind, it's in your mind, and it's like you think you're biting an apple, but it's really a potato. You think that's what it is, but it really isn't. And then all of a sudden you come to your senses. So, it could be that she just had in her mind, Jesus is dead. Wait a minute, where is his body's not here? So where is he? And you're not thinking that he's standing right there physically beside you. But it also could be that, Jesus kind of kept his identity hidden from her as well. Now, what we're going to find later on that day in the book of Luke is that there are two disciples, unnamed disciples, walking on the road to Emmaus. And as they are walking, Jesus comes right along and starts walking along beside them. And Jesus is there talking and conversing and discussing Scripture and giving them a very good Bible lesson as they are walking to Emmaus. They urge Jesus to stop and stay with them. And so as they are there, and as Jesus takes the bread and blesses it, and then all of a sudden it says that their eyes were opened, and they realized it was Jesus, and he was taken from their midst. And all of a sudden they said, our hearts burned because of the Scripture. Why is it that we didn't realize it was him? They hurried back to Jerusalem and told the disciples. And so it could be that Mary Magdalene was kind of kept from recognizing Jesus, and for that purpose to say, why are you crying? Well, I'm crying because I don't know where they laid the body of Jesus. Well, Jesus, in verse number 16, said to her, Mary. And at that, she turned toward him and cried out in Aramaic, Rabboni, which means teacher. Jesus said, do not hold on to me, for I have not yet returned to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them I am returning to my Father and to your Father, to my God and to your God. And Mary went to the disciples with the news, I have seen the Lord. And she told them that he had said these words to her. Okay, you got any questions or thoughts about that?
Why did he say not to touch him? Yeah.
Okay, I don't have a good answer for that, but I have an answer that I've heard that I really like. Okay? Does that make sense? Jesus was our great high priest, and he had just offered the sacrifice of atonement. And so in the Old Testament, when you had the high priest who was going to offer the sacrifice of atonement in the holy place, which was, or the Holy of Holies, which is supposed to symbolize what Jesus is going to do for us, he was supposed to be pure. He was supposed to be purified, and then he was supposed to go out for this sacrifice. Now, Jesus was pure automatically, but one thing that I heard one time, and it just makes sense to me, is that Jesus had just risen, and he had not yet gone to the Father to present himself as the sacrifice of atonement. And so he was saying, don't hold on to me, for I have yet to return to my Father. Now, no, what Mary was going to do as far as touching him was not going to contaminate him because of absolute purity, but I think that that's the idea about what he was saying. I like that answer, if that's not a right answer. Another answer is that where it says there, do not hold on to me, that it's the idea of do not keep holding on to me. Like Mary was wanting to grab him and hold him tight and not let him go, but Jesus understood that he had other things that he needed to do. So, two answers. Maybe, hopefully, one of them is right. You can pick whatever one you like. Does that sound okay? Chris?
I just wanted to kind of play off something you said.
Yeah.
You were talking about sometimes, we get this idea in our head, where we think we're eating an apple, but it's really a potato.
Yeah.
Mary was there at the cross.
Yes.
We just read about that in John 19.
Yes.
She knew Jesus had died.
Yes.
She knew that she knew. She was there. She saw it go down. So I think that might have played a little bit into why she didn't recognize Jesus, because she saw it with her own eyes.
Yes. Yeah, and not only that, but I think she was one of the ones that helped prepare Jesus' body for burial very hastily. And so that's what I'm saying. She had it in her mind, and she wasn't the only one. All the disciples thought it as well. Everyone thought Jesus is dead. We assume that the disciples, we incorrectly assume that the disciples knew or thought that Jesus is going to be resurrected on the third day. That's what he told them. That's what they should have believed. But, just human nature is they just thought he's dead. And so that's what I'm saying. It could very well be that Mary, she has in her mind, Jesus is dead. Where's Jesus' body? And she's solely focused on that. She's not thinking about anything else. And when you think about it, where, if she has been crying, where we see here that she is, and especially where it says there that he turns to where he says Mary, she turned toward him. She's probably, here's Jesus, she's looking, and she's not focusing. So it could be both those things together. But then again, it could be the fact that Jesus is hiding his identity.
Also, do you think it was still dark?
Not really, because I think where it says that, it was still dark when they first went to the tomb, but if it's not there in John, it is in another gospel that it was, this is when the sun had risen.
Okay.
And so, the sun was up at this point. I mean, it could be that, sun was in her eyes, something like that, because it would have been low on the horizon, but no, it was light outside at this point in time. But that's a good thought. Anybody else? I guess it boils down to, when we get to heaven, we're going to have to come up and ask Mary Magdalene, Mary, how did you not know that was Jesus? I'm going to do that, and she's going to slap me. I'm tired of answering that question. Okay. Anybody else?